It's week 11. Can you believe it? It's here already. Week 11 Waiver Wire show, and we are here to help you starting with quarterbacks. Now, the full report, upgrades, downgrades, and waiver wire report is available at footballguys.com. Cecil Lammey's third person and Sigmund Bloom to talk about Russell Wilson. Maybe if he does some good for my fantasy team, Bloom, I'll apologize to him.
Right. This is a case where, again, the Steelers' second half schedule probably going to force them to pass a lot. Baltimore this week, we've seen teams have great success passing against Baltimore. I did Jamar Chase's season-long stats if he just played Baltimore. I'm not joking. It's like 178 catches for 4,200 yards and 42 touchdowns or something like that. Something up 3,800 yards, maybe. Absurd. He's had almost like 500 yards in 2 games against them. Okay, Joe Burrow, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're seeing too is that the Steelers understand. Isn't it a beautiful thing when your team understands its quarterback and what they can do and what they can't do? And Russell Wilson, even if he only has 25 attempts in a game, 30 attempts in a game, the ADOT's going to be great. He's got George Pickens. He's got Calvin Austin. Now Mike Williams with the game-winning touchdown. Big plays. And he looks reasonably athletic back there, evading pressure, extending plays, maybe able to add a little bit here and there as a runner like he did back in his heyday. This is all recipe for fantasy success, even though it is coming from an unlikely place.
An unlikely place, but Mike Tomlin, man alive. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson is going to get another shot. Now, from an NFL perspective, it could be like, okay, whatever. He's not going to prove anything. He's out of his element or whatever. Whatever take you have on Anthony Richardson, it might be right.
Yeah.
But from fantasy, Bloom, Tim Tebow couldn't throw. He was a top 10
Right.
fantasy quarterback. I don't care
Right.
if Anthony Richardson can't throw. He can run and he can kind of throw. He can definitely throw better than Tebow. So top 10 fantasy QB from your waiver wire? Yeah, of course. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, it is. And just to put a finer point on your point, Cecil, Tim Tebow was a quarterback that John Elway, when he took over the Broncos, said, I don't want him. I want somebody other than him.
Right.
And yet he was still a good fantasy quarterback. So the Colts might be saying, we want someone other than him. But he can still be a good fantasy quarterback with the running ability. And I'm also in the preemptive pickups, more 2-quarterback superflex league. They got to turn to Drew Lock. Not that Drew Lock he might be worse than Daniel Jones. If you're holding Malik Neighbors, if you're holding Tyrone Tracy and wondering, could a quarterback change help? Maybe it won't help. But I think Drew Lock is somebody that we have to be looking at as someone taking over in 2-quarterback superflex leagues. If Bo Nix is still out there, just wide netting it, maybe in between, Derek Carr should be on rosters in 2-quarterback superflex, but maybe there's more there. More on that later. And not as much churn at quarterback. But again, you can see what we're doing. We're looking ahead to see as teams' plans change as we get deeper in the season, other quarterbacks will get a chance.
Fantasy playoffs are almost here. You've got to get this ready. You've got to get this right. And you've got to make sure that you're doing the right moves at the right time. It's time to swing your sword. You've been sitting on them free agent bucks, Bloom. You always say it like swing your sword. Yep, it's time. And you may do that on Audric Estime. He may be the highest percentage player on your list. I'm just guessing. I haven't seen your list yet, Bloom. I'll see it at footballguys.com. Upgrades, downgrades, waiver wire report. Where is Audric Estime in the swing your sword category? Because it looks like potentially he's got to hang on to the rock, but he could be taking over this Broncos backfield.
And he'll be paired with a good defense. He's got fresh legs. Let's remember that. One of the things we don't talk about enough of why D. Brown could be a league winner, why some of these running backs who take over in the second half of the season, who maybe aren't nearly as talented as the running back they're replacing, and that isn't necessarily the case here, because they've got fresh legs against tired defenses. Audric Estime has fresh legs, and the defense is good enough to keep this team in run-first game scripts. We haven't seen them truly establish the run, but Estime could do that for them. And I would put it this way as far as priorities. If you're in the kind of league where every backup running back is already rostered, okay, even through the bye, somebody like Emmanuel Wilson was still on a roster, right? Cam Akers immediately picked up. He's on a roster. And you've been sitting on your waiver wire bucks or been sitting on that top priority. Yeah, you might not get a better probability cloud of value than Audric Estime. Now, if you're looking at your waiver wire and Cam Akers is out there or Jaylen Warren is out there, then maybe it's not a good idea to use that much of your capital. If it's the kind of league where maybe one of Bucky Irving or Rashad White gets dropped, something like that. So just it depends on how deep your league is. I would say you can usually measure this by the number of bench spots. 4 or 5 bench spots. Estimate is not that high priority. 6, 7, 8 bench spots. Now, yeah, Estimate might be the best thing you have going because, Cease, I think we can say Javonte Williams, except for injury, has lost the job.
Yeah, more on him later on in the show. You know what segment that is.
Yeah.
Well, let's get on the Gus bus. Sigmund Gus Edwards is the lead in our next group of running backs.
Yeah, and if you're in a league that's even deeper than that, or maybe you don't have the number one priority, maybe you don't have the Bucks to get Estime, then Gus Edwards is the guy. Looks great, honestly. He looks so much better than he did before. Again, fresh legs, right? Maybe just the injury gave him a chance to recharge. Or what we saw in the season earlier was that he was playing injured, and they shut him down. He's got burst down, and he's a downhill runner. And I want us to be talking in the future about J.K. Dobbins playing in his 80th straight game. Okay, but we know the history of his career doesn't indicate that is likely. Hopefully, it's just bad luck. This is another team, the Chargers, established the run. So Gus Edwards, even as a standalone guy, as a what the heck flex in good matchups, this is a player that can come through for us with 1 or maybe 2 rushing touchdowns, even this weekend against Cincinnati. So I think Gus Edwards is also a priority, and maybe we may look back and say he was the running back that you wanted to land. Not a lot of other options this week on the waiver wire. Again, check for Cam Akers in your more shallow leagues. Check for Jaylen Warren, Trey Benson. These are some backups who are coming on. Jordan Mason, if he was dropped. But overall, it seems like running back has been strangely stable this year. This has been
Uh-oh.
like the most boring. I know I'm speaking into existence right now.
Mm.
Just did you see last night, by the way, that Dan Campbell spoke into existence a turnover?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, what is there anything he can't do? He can't make us have good running backs on the waiver wire, but maybe
Uh,
give it a few weeks.
Words are spells, Bloom. Be careful what you
Yes, yes,
say, what you think and feel impacts your behavior.
yes,
He goes
yes.
all, hey, can you stop getting crunchy and get back to the waiver wire, buddy?
Yeah.
All right. MVS, not much at wide receiver, but let's talk about Marquez Valdes-Scantling to kick off the wide receiver section.
And let's just give him his own segment here
Sure.
because he was the MVP in that game. He was the difference in the game, and he's coming in off the bench. Look, the Saints. The word was it was almost like an open audition. The joke, hey, if you're in section 103, row 3, seat 4, you're now starting wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints. It was kind of like that with all the injuries they've had. Okay. Uh, and he just came in and saved the day with that deep ball, with sure hands, with the speed to get behind the defense, and Derek Carr throwing that deep ball against the hated Dirty Birds. Will it keep up? It might against Cleveland. I mean, actually, that's a pretty good matchup. So, Cease, we have seen more. And the thing is he really that unlikely? I mean, he's had moments with Green Bay. He's had moments with Kansas City. We know sure, he might end up being Troy Williamson or Devery Henderson or your favorite deep threat who was 50-50, even if it was the easiest catch that you or I could make. But those guys, the other 50 hits sometimes. And it did this week. And it may keep up because this is a team playing with nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. So let it hang out there. Plus, it's Windows, Bloom. I mean, fantasy
Yeah.
football is not love. It's not forever and ever and
No.
ever. It's like, can I get a couple of weeks out of you?
Mm-hmm.
Great. MBS,
Mm-hmm.
pick them up for a little change and
Mm-hmm.
then throw them in. Um, if you want change your mind. Now I'm in crunchy mode, Bloom. So let's quickly abandon that. Adonai Mitchell.
Yeah.
Let's get him in, and then the rest of this very small group of receivers.
Yeah. And with Mitchell, he gets the opportunity for Mike Pittman Jr. And with Pittman, we know there was a back injury. We know they talked about injured reserve. I think he has a finger injury now too, that popping in and out of place. Uh, I don't know if Anthony Richardson takes over, whether we care about Mitchell, but he might not take over. Or alternatively, we know that Anthony Richardson has those deep balls that he can connect on, even if he can do like 7 completions for 200 yards in a game. And Shane Steichen's offense and the talents in these receiver roles. Alec Pierce, another one maybe. Mitchell, again, they can make it happen. Josh Downs in the deep passing game. Other wide receivers you might look at, again, check to see if Juwan Jennings shouldn't be out there. I mean, that's a guy you just empty the wallet for at this point. Ricky Pearsall also. Demario Douglas shouldn't be out there, but in PPR leagues, he might still be out there. And I think when we see Drake May have to open it up, like this weekend against the Rams, you might see Douglas put up Jacoby Myers kind of numbers, a former Patriot. Keyshawn Butte also, as we see, again, Drake May going to spread his wings. New England, it was nice, nice win, commanding win over the Bears in Chicago, but they're going to be on the short end of some scores, which means Drake May's going to let it all hang out, and he's going to let it all hang out to Douglas and shake your booty downfield.
Yeah, and May's wild, but he's gaining confidence in that wildness. So he'll continue to be wild. And yeah, he's a rookie. He's going through the learning curve, man. Good to see. You should be excited if you're a New England fan. You should be picking up Dawson Knox. All right. Injuries create opportunities, and Knox is already a guy that we know has talent, has a connection, and we've seen it on the field. Now we'll see it going forward. With Kincaid banged up, it's time for Dawson Knox to do more.
There's a history here. He's got a lot of chemistry with Josh Allen. He's one of the best athletes at tight end in the NFL. Okay, so there's something there to work with. He can get downfield. He can score touchdowns. They're saying not a serious injury for Dalton Kincaid, but Kincaid himself, he returned to the game, but he said he came in with a knee brace, didn't look great. He himself saying he's not sure about his status for this game against Kansas City. So if you're looking to replace a Trey McBride, looking to replace a Cade Otton, maybe you were doing the tight end merry-go-round and finally you got Cade Otton, but now you're like, well, he's on bye. What am I going to do? Dawson Knox could be the answer.
Yeah, could be that answer for you. Or Will Disley. Again, tight end's a little bit thin. Has that been mysteriously stable this year, Bloom?
Right. Well, what's mysterious about tight end is 3 weeks in, it looked like nobody was going to have a good tight end unless, you're like Trey McBride or Brock Bowers. And
Right.
now some people have 2 tight ends. So the waiver wire is not as hot as it doesn't need to be as hot right now. Will Disley, a little bit up and down, but he is the clear receiving tight end, not Hayden Hurst. And you also have the chemistry with Justin Herbert. And this is going to be so much fun. I saw Jim Harbaugh after the game ceased. I don't know if you saw this clip where he's saying, I'm just going to change his name to Beast Herbert. He's talking like a fan, and that's great. What a great thing when your coach is a fan of your quarterback. And what a great thing that is for the offense. And I know that because of the Chargers trading away Keenan Allen, letting Mike Williams go, and not making wide receiver priority, and not taking Malik Neighbors, taking Joe Alton. Oh, they're just going to ground and pound and throw the ball 18 times. No, got to give Harbaugh and Roman more credit than that. And Justin Herbert is starting to become that guy. Cease, I just can't help but look ahead again to, I don't even think of the AFC bracket in terms of teams. I just think of it in terms of quarterbacks, right? Patrick Mahomes against Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson against Justin Herbert. Like these kinds of matchups. It's so much fun, especially whenever the coach thinks of his quarterback as a beast and you have him elevating these players around him like Will Disley.
Who's got it better than us, right? And certainly thinking of our longtime fans, Bloom, I was at a comic book convention as a featured artist and had so many people come up and talk about this show. My other work in Denver, of course, but like this show specifically, the fantasy fans are out there, and the appreciation we have for them is always great. I think of our guy Colin, right?
Mm-hmm.
At Sportique, working on them scooters, girl. Like, yeah, shout out to everyone out there for joining us in this part of the show because it is audience participation, and that's what we need. We've already alluded to one Javonte Williams being on this list. I'm sure there's a lot of fantasy GMs that will be joining in with this, and it's helpful, man. It's a tradition. We're just us, man. We're just us. We ain't trying to be anything that we're not. We're just us. We're a couple of nerds that love football, love each other, and love you. So here we go. Scream it to the heavens or whisper it if you have to. It is time to cue the Chuck D. Bloom, week 11 shut 'em downs.
Yeah, and this is time to have a really short leash in terms of ready to let these players go. Okay, the short plank, I should say. Like Daniel Jones, I'm not waiting to see if he's going to be the starter after the bye. Even in 2-quarterback superflex, you wonder if he's going to get pulled at any point in game. Mac Jones, hopefully, mercifully, we'll see CJ Beathard in 2-quarterback superflex leagues. Caleb Williams in 1-quarterback leagues, if you haven't already done it, because even if he has a good game against Green Bay this week, well, who knows if he's going to have a good game? Could Shane Waldron get fired? That would actually make me excited. If Shane Waldron gets fired by the time you've heard this, then put Caleb Williams in the next segment, okay? Let's wait and see. DeJounte Williams, you mentioned. Tank Bigsby. And some of it is, again, Jacksonville's offense is so bad. So even if Bigsby rallies from this ankle injury and he becomes the sort of starter, come on, Iguodala. In the future, next year, in the future, we're going to come back to him. We always have that wonderful wheel route that he caught for a touchdown. Deontay Johnson, and if you listen to the show, you're like, well, I cut him last week. I hope so. He's depth. We don't carry wide receiver injury upside like Dontavian Wicks. We're not carrying these guys at this point in the season. All right, that's just there's not a win here. Xavier Worthy. It depends on, again, these 4 or 5 bench spot leagues. He's banged up now. And the thing is, Xavier Worthy's one of those potential sabotage drops.
Yep.
Because, yeah, he has the potential to get a 60-yard touchdown every week. But chasing that means you're going to take a 0 or a 2-point play and maybe leave a Demario Douglas on the bench who's going to give you that nice, safe 10 points. All right. So, Xavier Worthy, yeah, sabotage. Maybe we need to add that segment, Cease. Listen, all y'all, it's a sabotage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't stand it. I'm going to drop, Jake Ferguson and maybe. I'm going to set it straight. This Dak, what was it? The sun coming through the window gate? So I don't know. I just know that not anything good is going to come out of the Cowboys offense. That matter too, like Rico Dowdle, if you're looking at Rico Dowdle, he's an emergency play, but we don't need emergency plays once we get through the bye week gauntlet. It's only a few weeks away.
My favorite Beastie Boys song is What You Want. And I'm still trying to find and I'm still trying to find the Ringer New York Knicks t-shirt. I think Mike's wearing it.
Yeah.
Where he's like jumping up and down wearing the Knicks t-shirt. Yeah. So
Mhm.
there you go. So what you want, or should we more accurately say, hold on, in week 11,
Right.
Bloom, who are those players?
Yeah. Jordan Mason. I know that Christian McCaffrey was great and back in his full-on role, but Mason is healthy now over the shoulder injury, and if McCaffrey goes down, that's the guy you're going to want. Now, Rico Dowdle really can have one foot in each segment here, because if you are in a deep league, he can be that guy as injuries strike, where, like I said, if we're looking at the waiver wire and you're like, well, Audric Estime was already picked up last week. If I want Gus Edwards, I have to empty my wallet. If it's that kind of league, then no, you're not going to drop Rico Dowdle, even though Dallas is swirling down the drain. Brian Thomas, do they have it in them? Does Press Taylor and Doug Peterson have it in them, whether it's Mac Jones or CJ Beathard or whoever? Bring David Garrard out of retirement just to throw the ball downfield to this guy. Come on, please. They haven't been doing it all year anyway. So not a sabotage drop in the same way that Xavier Worthy is, in that it's not Brian Thomas's fault, but it might be tough for him. I can't let him go quite yet, not with Detroit up this week and the potential for Jacksonville, whoever it is, the quarterback, to have to pass a lot. DJ Moore, and this is another one. Like, why am I not dropping DJ Moore? Because Shane Waldron could get fired. And then you bring a sane person in here and say, hey, you're paying this guy $20+ million a year. Maybe use him on more than just wide receiver screens, So there's a few more twists left in the season, and perhaps that could be one. So even though DJ Moore is someone that is not going to be in your lineup this week against Chicago, I definitely would be holding on.
That's right. That's what we do on this program. It is the Audible Waiver Wire show. We got a bunch of great stuff for you at footballguys.com. You want to make that playoff push? Well, then check us out at footballguys.com. You want to support the show? That's the way we ask you to do it. No silly super chats. We'll just say, hey, please check out footballguys.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter. Check out this list: Joe Bryant, Bob Harris, Cecil Lammey, third person, and Sigmund Bloom. writing the news for you every day at footballguys.com. You get it right to your inbox for free. So check us out. We appreciate you very much. He is Sigmund. I am Cecil. We are The Audible. Follow Sigmund on X at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show is at The Audible. Watch the other videos floating around our heads. I think they're stationary. But either way, they're somewhere over here. Watch the videos. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty?